Robertson County, Tennessee teller, 1817. John Bell. And still, she spoke.
I will see you dead, John Bell!
The haunting had grown beyond a single family. It had become a legend being born in real time. The room fell silent, except for mocking laughter that filled every wall. Before the voice disappeared completely, it spoke one final time. Even now, locals say that on certain winter nights, you can still hear faint laughter across the fields.
There will be no peace.
In the early 1800s, the American South was still wild, a land of rivers, forests, and endless fields.
Settlements stood small and fragile, carved from the wilderness by human hands.
It was here, in the quiet farmlands of Robertson County, Tennessee, that John Bell built his home. John Bell was a man of faith, picket, a strong farmer, respected by everyone who knew him.
His family lived in peace, O'Trace, working the fields and praying under the golden sky. But history would remember this peaceful farm for something else, a haunting the world had never seen. At first, nothing seemed strange. The Bell farm rested quietly under the morning sun.
The Bell family lived peacefully on their land, working together as the days passed slowly.
John, his wife Lucy, and their children worked from dawn till dusk, tending to crops and livestock. Their home was modest but warm, built of rough wood and lit by the soft glow of oil lamps. Their farm lay among rolling hills, the air filled with the gentle hum of cicadas. But one autumn evening, as dusk fell over the fields, the air grew strangely still. John Bell noticed something unusual, a tall, shadow-like figure standing at the edge of the corn rows. When he raised his lantern, the figure vanished, Yasrun, swallowed by the mist and the fading light.
He told himself it was nothing, a trick of the light, maybe an animal passing by.
Yet the next night, the same figure appeared again and again.
Soon, they began hearing noises, faint knocks echoing through the wooden walls at night.
Then came footsteps, slow, heavy, crossing the floor when no one was there.
Sometimes they heard the faint sound of chewing cubs, as if an invisible creature fed beside them.
The family searched the house, the barn, even the woods, but nothing was ever found.
No tracks, no sign, only the sound of their own hearts beating in the dark.
Neighbors began to talk. "The Bells are cursed," they whispered when the sun went down.
Something evil has taken root on their land, some said, crossing themselves as they spoke.
John Bell tried to dismiss the rumors, telling his family it was only talk.
But deep down, he felt it too. A cold presence watching from the edge of the fields.
Something unseen had begun to take notice of them, the Terry. And it was waiting.
What started as simple knocks and shadows would soon evolve into voices, faint at first, almost human. The Bell family would lie awake, hearing voices drift through the walls, voices that called their names,
and a terror that defied every explanation. Winter came early that year. Frost crept across the fields like a silent ghost. Frost settled over the Bell property, on every fence, every window, every breath.
And with it, the disturbances grew stronger, louder, closer, more violent.
The family could no longer deny it. Something was in the house with them.
Whatever it was, it had entered their home, and it wasn't leaving. Every night, the Bells heard scratching under their beds, like fingernails dragging across wood. Blankets were yanked from their sleeping children.
Doors slammed in empty rooms.
Lucy Bell began to pray louder each night, clutching her Bible.
The sounds circled the house like a storm. But then came the voice.
At first, it was a faint whisper, impossible to locate, sometimes from the corner, sometimes from inside the walls.
It mimicked their words. When John Bell prayed, it repeated him, mocking every syllable.
When Lucy sang hymns, it hummed along.
Its tone was wrong, but its words were clear, as if someone unseen had joined their prayers.
"Who are you?" John demanded one night, standing in the dark with a lantern in hand.
The family waited, breath held, as silence filled the house. Then, the whisper came again, closer this time, circling the room.
The whisper came again, this time clear.
I am nothing and everything.
From that night on, the entity grew bold. It spoke more often, laughed, and sometimes called the family by name.
The voice was raspy, female, and carried the weight of centuries. It claimed to be Kate Batts,
a neighbor who, according to rumor, had once cursed John Bell after a land dispute.
I told you, John Bell, I would haunt you till your death.
From that night, there was no peace in the Bell home, only the promise of a curse fulfilled.
Word of the haunting spread through Robertson County.
Ministers, doctors, skeptics, all came to witness the strange phenomena.
Inside, they saw objects move, heard voices answer questions no one had asked aloud.
And each left the Bell home shaken, pale, their faith and reason trembling.
Each left convinced that something intelligent, something ancient, was truly there.
Objects floated. Candles bent their flames toward invisible hands. And on one terrifying night, the youngest Bell daughter was lifted off her bed by an unseen force.
Her screams echoed through the hills of Tennessee.
People began to call it the Bell Witch.
And for the first time, America had a ghost story it could not ignore.
By the spring of 1818, the Bell home had become a place of fear and fascination.
Edge of the property, hoping to hear the strange voice for themselves. Ministers arrived, and Kate, the voice, obliged them all. It spoke with intelligence, wit, and venom.
It could quote scripture, argue theology, and even predict visitors before they arrived.
When asked what it wanted, the voice replied plainly, "I have come to torment John Bell." The entity seemed obsessed with John. His every prayer, every movement, every breath.
It called him a cheat, a liar, and said he would never find peace in this life or the next.
His bod began to tremble. His hands would not stay still. Each prayer felt heavier than the last.
But strangely, it was gentle toward Lucy, his wife.
She is pure, it whispered. Too good for him.
Visitors recorded what they saw. Food vanishing from plates, chairs sliding across floors.
A woman's laughter, echoing through solid wood.
Some nights, the spirit would recite entire sermons, word for word, in the exact voice of local preachers. When investigators tried to catch it, setting traps, sprinkling holy water, the witch laughed. "You think you can trap air?" it jeered. "You think you can chain a thought?"
Then came the incident that turned fear into hysteria.
One evening, the family and several guests gathered in the parlor. The witch began to sing, a haunting tune no one recognized.
The air itself seemed to vibrate. And then, in the silence after, came the whisper.
After that night, John began to grow weak, his face pale, his body trembling. Doctors found no illness they could name.
The witch's laughter followed him wherever he went, across fields, in his dreams, even in church.
And still, she spoke.
I will see you dead, John Bell.
The people of Robertson County no longer doubted the story. They came in wagons, hundreds of them, just to hear the voice.
Reporters, scholars, and skeptics all left shaken. The haunting had grown beyond a single family. It had become a legend being born in real time.
Part 4, to fate, the death, and the curse.
By late 1820, John Bell's condition had worsened. His hands shook, his speech faltered, and his once strong frame now seemed fragile as glass.
His family feared the worst.
Yet the voice of Kate never ceased. It followed him like a shadow.
Whispering, mocking, and laughing in the dark corners of his home.
Neighbors began to keep vigil, sleeping on the Bell property to witness what they now called the devil's entertainment. Then
They heard the same voice that tormented John, sometimes soft, sometimes screaming with glee. Then, on December 19th, John Bell did not wake. Lucy found him lying still, his breath shallow, his face gray. On the bedside table was a small vial of dark liquid, something none of them had seen before.
What have you done?
When the family turned to the voice and demanded, "What have you done?"
Kate laughed.
Fixed him for good. I gave old Jack a dose that fixed him for good.
The doctors examined the vial. When they held it near the family cat, the animal convulsed and died instantly.
The room fell silent.
except for the echo that seemed to linger on every wall.
And still, she spoke.
I will see you dead, John Bell.
The people of Robertson County no longer doubted the story. They came in wagons, hundreds of them, just to hear the voice.
Reporters, scholars, and skeptics all left shaken. The haunting had grown beyond a single family. It had become a legend being born in real time.
Part 4. Intergnacarith, the Death and the Curse.
By late 1820, John Bell's condition had worsened. His hands shook, his speech faltered, and his once strong frame now seemed fragile as glass.
His family feared the worst.
John Bell.
Yet the voice of Kate never ceased. It followed him like a shadow.
Whispering, mocking, and laughing in the dark corners of his home. Neighbors began to keep vigil, sleeping on the Bell property, to witness what they now called the Devil's Entertainment.
John!
They heard the same voice that tormented John, sometimes soft, sometimes squeaking with glee. Then, on December 19th, John Bell did not wake.
Lucy found him lying still, his breath shallow, his face gray.
On the bedside table was a small vial of dark liquid, something none of them had seen before.
What have you done?
When the family turned to the voice and demanded,
What have you done?
Kate laughed.
The doctors examined the vial. When they held it near the family cat, the animal convulsed and died instantly.
The room fell silent, except for Kate's mocking laughter that filled every wall.
John Bell was buried 2 days later in the family cemetery.
Hundreds attended, though few dared to stand close to the grave.
During the funeral, the Bell Witch sang a drinking song so loud that mourners could barely hear the pastor's prayer.
And I'll have peace at last.
For months after John's death, the haunting slowly faded.
The Bell home grew quiet again.
But before the voice disappeared completely, it spoke one final time.
I will return in 7 years.
And according to the Bell family records, 7 years later, in 1828, the voice did return.
John Bell. Not as loud, not as cruel, but there all the same, whispering in the night before vanishing once more. Even now, locals say that on certain winter nights,
When the wind passes through the hollows of Tennessee.
A reminder that the Bell Witch never truly left.
Part 5. Relentless, the silence that never came.
Years passed, and the legend of the Bell Witch spread far beyond Tennessee.
Newspapers printed the tale. Preachers warned their congregations.
Is it true?
Travelers came from other states to see the Bell Farm, some out of fear, others out of curiosity. By the mid-1800s, it was no longer just a ghost story.
It had become a national legend, one woven into the fabric of American folklore.
The Bell home eventually fell into ruin. The fields where John once worked grew wild again, swallowed by vines and silence. But locals claimed the witch had merely changed her form, appearing as flickering lights near the river, strange animal calls at midnight, and whispers that carried on the wind.
Generations later, researchers returned.
But every attempt ended the same. Unexplained interference, drained batteries, voices captured on tape that no one present had spoken.
One recording, made in 1973, contained a faint woman's voice saying, "Still here."
When analyzed, the voice pattern matched the early phonograph readings.
Still here, of a 19th century female dialect from rural Tennessee.
Historians argue that the Bell Witch may be a fusion of folklore, fear, and faith. A story shaped by guilt, superstition, and the anxieties of a young America.
A nation struggling between religion and reason. Yet even skeptics admit one thing.
The records, the testimonies, and the strange phenomena remain too detailed, too consistent to dismiss entirely.
At the old Bell Cemetery, a worn stone still bears John Bell's name.
Visitors leave coins or prayers, whispering to the wind for peace.